So this slide talks about the method and synthesis. How I was able to do my research and how what certain topics I focus on. So I focus on non-adherence, adherence for the regimen of treating type 1 diabetes, barriers, self management, and stress and anxiety. So the main focus is to be able to find evidence-based research articles that support ways to have an increased adherence on the management of type 1 diabetes amongst adolescent students. Also took into how type 1 diabetes faces with challenges, depression, anxiety, and what is involvement in the care of the diagnosis. If if exercise and mindfulness activities can be coping mechanism for type 1 diabetes as well. Research databases such as Google that I use, it was Google Scholar, PubMed, and Severe were used. Key terms that I use for to get my research is adolescents, type 1 diabetes, health belief model, adherence, exercise, mindfulness, hypoglycemia, depression, anxiety, challenges, perception, and knowledge, resulting in search engines use. It was 122,000 articles. Further to limit to the years, it was between 2018 through 2024. So the result of the articles to be 18,000 articles. Articles were further selected in relevance of the health topic of the type 1 diabetes within the students, coping mechanism, depression, anxiety, challenge that they face, knowledge of the diagnosis, and ways to provide better adherence to the diagnosis. Further limiting to evidence-based research articles and supporting articles to the topic, resulting to limited to the current selected listed. So it will be more focusing onto the subject I talked about and what kind of topics I wanted to focus on. So I went further into this the articles, and when I was reading, I was providing the certain main points that was selected into these articles. So the reason for non-adherence was found due to the mood, lack, and motivation of school, economic, and difficulties. The study also determined that the greater the awareness or increased knowledge of the student diagnosis, the higher the levels of adherence to self-care. It was determined that there was a high correlation with students with anxiety and depression who tended to have low adherence to self-care behavior. Though once these same adolescents were placed independently of their own care, they did not adhere to the medical orders or were giving themselves too much insulin and facing hypoglycemic episodes, therefore classifying themselves as lack autonomy. Barriers that include having negative feelings about having diabetes, personal environmental barriers such as that they're able to not afford insulin or they were unable to have accessible of nutritious meals. Adolescents also often see that their diagnosis of having type 1 diabetes is a disease that inhibits their daily routine and sets them aside differently from their peers. So their mentality thought that they were unable to be involved into everyday activities, like, for example, sports, or able to do mostly more active activities, soccer, basketball, track and fields, those certain subjects. And these articles correlates to what I was facing in my work setting. My middle school kiddos, adolescents were also having that same viewpoints that they were not able to corporate or be corporate with their own peers of doing PE or doing running and all that stuff because due to their due to their diagnosis, type 1 diabetes. Another barrier was drawn from correlation with the fear of diabetes, hypoglycemia, and self-management of type 1 diabetes in adolescents. Another barrier that was drawn from another article is their socioeconomic status due to growing up in low-income environments. And that's what was faced in my students as well, that they didn't have access into nutritious meals. The adolescents found it to be hard to manage their type 1 diabetes due to not having the research nor the support of their family members that did not have the same diagnosis. Another article took a deeper look in seeing the barriers of having negative feelings like depression, anxiety affects the student's management of diabetes, glycemic levels, and and the study did not show positive correlation. Another study to a closer look at use of physical education as a way to aid in management of type 1 diabetes amongst adolescents. Having increased levels in physical activity further improved the better self-care diabetic management. This article looked into adolescents' point of view of physical education, in which they states adolescent beliefs of physical education being bad and cause of low blood sugar. So some of these individuals thought that not doing any activity, it will cause them to have low blood sugar. And that also was connected to my also adolescents as well, their viewpoints of their diagnosis.